Alright, so I kind of wanted to talk about this because this has just been something that's been on my mind for the past week. So if you've been playing Dead by Daylight recently, you would know that they brought back 2v8, which is usually a fun time. Like 2v8 is a fun game mode, and I still think 2v8 is a fun game mode. And this time around, we actually got Pyramid Head and Dracula, which is fucking sick. It's like what they did with the Resident Evil one, where they got two Capcom characters. Now we have two Konami characters, which is really fucking cool. And, other than that, I mean, it's essentially the same modes, which we'll get into in a minute, but I just really needed to talk about this because it's just been on my mind that I feel like 2v8 as of recently has just been so fucking sweaty. And what I mean by sweaty is not like, every team is a comp team or every team is like, going out of their way to win, even though, like, they are. It's just the fact that, like, the gens are just getting done way too fucking quickly for most killers to do anything about it. And so, let me explain. So, like, when 2v8 first came out, and all the way up to now, we've always had to deal with 8 generators, which is fine. I always expected them to make it 10 generators, but I guess because of how the maps work and how mechanics work, I guess 10 generators wasn't really doable, which I get. But I just feel like now in the current state of 2v8, people have figured out how to optimize this mode like crazy and figured out like the best classes to run for certain people, and like people have like their own teams dedicated for 2v8, and it's like it just feels like nowadays it's so optimized that playing killer in most matches is just really fucking hard to do, because even when I play killer, it's like whenever I play survivor, it's like we immediately start getting shit on by the killers. But the moment I go to play killer, it just feels like the gens are getting done so quickly. Like, we don't even really get like half of the amount of hooks by the time we've already gotten like 3 generators done. And I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, that could be dependent on the killer you play as and stuff like that. Well, the problem with that is that a lot of the killers in the mode are just simply not really the greatest to play. Like for example, we got Pyramid Head and Dracula, but unfortunately, Pyramid Head is just not really that good in this mode, because Pyramid Head's power isn't specifically designed to deal with multiple people like that in one situation. Especially since just a few months before, they already like nerfed the shit out of Pyramid Head and made him like not virtually unplayable, but they just made him really hard to play. So it's like, people are struggling to play Pyramid Head as is. So you put him in 2v8 and he's still just as bad as he was before, before 2v8. And he's just not really designed to go against 8 different survivors. Like, he's definitely more of a 1v1 killer. But that's kind of something you have to manage when you're playing in 2v8, is you have to manage going against multiple survivors at once. That's why there's some killers in 2v8 that fucking dominate, like, Blight, Nurse, Wesker, Billy. Like, all these killers are great at doing that because they, are fast, they have good abilities, they can deal with multiple survivor players. But Pyramid Head is just not it. And Dracula is better than Pyramid, I will give you that. But again, I still think Dracula's ability is just simply not fit for 2v8, and even the buffs they tried to give to him, like reducing his cooldowns and giving his wolf form 3 pounces like what they did with Wesker, again, like the difference between Wesker and Dracula is that Wesker's entire ability revolves around that. So it kind of made sense for them to do that because he didn't really have anything else in his kit to let him benefit off of, going against multiple people like this. Dracula still has Hellfire and Bat form. They could have done anything better with these two. They could have, made made the Hellfire pillars long, like they could have made the range longer. They could have, have it so you shoot like even more in a wide spread. Like, they could have done so much more with Dracula, but all they really did was reduce his cooldowns and give wolf form 3 pounces, which isn't the worst thing ever, because I've played Dracula and Pyramid Head in 2v8, and I've had better experience with Dracula than I have with Pyramid Head. But again, it's still the problem of it's so hard to play these types of killers and manage all these generators, and it just feels like that the gens are just going by way too quickly right now. And I know that there's that whole mechanic of like, in order to balance the game, they make it so if you hook too many people, the gens go by faster, and if they get too many gens done, the gens go by slower. it just feels like that mechanic just doesn't exist right now, because it just feels like no matter how many hooks we get or how many gens they do, they still just pop them like crazy. And it's not like they changed, like, you know, guide or any of the other classes to make doing gens easier, because as far as I could tell, the classes are the exact damn same, and they didn't really do anything with them this time around. So it literally just feels like that everybody is just optimizing the fuck out of this mode to get all the gens done, and it's just like, I don't know, I don't think it's super necessary. I just simply don't. And, you know, as much as I want to say that, like, you know, that I want to keep playing 2v8, I just feel like that 2v8 at this point is just, it's just not really that interesting to me right now, because again, it's like, I'm going to be waiting 20 minutes on top of, you know, trying to play some Survivor games, you know, just to, you know, pass the time. But I'm sitting here waiting 20 minutes to play like a 5-minute game because they get all the gens done and stuff. And I can't even really play the new killers because of just like the insane amount of loops and the insane amount of tiles. It's like I end up just having to go back to playing, you know, killers like Blight and Nemesis and Billy, and I can't even play Legion in this mode. That's the other problem I was gonna complain about too, is that for some reason Legion is just disabled in this mode. Don't know why, and I'm pretty sure there is like a fair explanation for it, and I didn't read it anywhere. But, you know, the mode came out and Legion was just disabled. Don't know why. But, yeah, it just feels like that this 2v8, like, has kind of brought to my attention that I'm just simply not really having as much fun with the mode as I did when it first came out. And I understand, like, you know, there's going to be people that complain to me. I understand that, you know, people are going to get better at the mode anyways. Like, that's just how people learn to play this game. People are going to get better at 2v8. It's not going to be as chaotic as it was when it first came out. And, you know, that's just me clinging on to the fact that I just like when it's more fun and more crazy like that. Because it's true. I love when 2v8 is like that. But especially with the fact that this mode doesn't have any ranking. There's no MMR. There's no nothing. And, you know, to wait 20 minutes to have like a 5-minute game because all the gens just get really, like, done really quickly. And we barely even get enough hooks in to start killing people. It's just, it's really insane. And, you know, there's a few ways that they could fix this, and I feel like one of the easiest ones is just to up it to 10 generators, because I feel like adding those 2 extra generators would mean a significantly more amount of playtime for killers, because you can actually play the game. Because it's like within the first 5 minutes, it's like there's already 3 or 4 gens done. You may have like at most like a quarter of the hook gauge like filled up, but still, it's like it's hard to play killer right now because everybody's just able to crank these gens so fucking fast, and there's not a lot of killers in 2v8 that are really able to deal with all of this at one time, other than the high mobility killers, like I said, like, you know, Billy, Wesker, and, you know, characters like that. And, you know, you still can play the other kills. Like, you can still play, like, Trapper, Wraith, Nurse, and, you know, Deathslingers. Like, you can still play all these other killers, and you can probably still do fine. But if you're looking to actually try and win a game, that is going to be the biggest struggle that you're going to have, is that just simply the gens are getting done way too quickly. And I feel like as of lately, the most I've seen is I've seen people run Medic and Escapist, which is like the one that like has the ability to heal somebody up to halfway on Medic, and the manual sprint burst. I don't even want to get into manual sprint burst. We had that with like the last other 2v8 revisions, and holy fucking shit, manual sprint burst is a fucking awful thing. And I know it's gonna sound hypocritical because, like, you know, I've used it before. But still, it's the fact that, like, yeah, it's stupid, and I'm using it because I know it's stupid. Like, that's just how I see it. But, yeah, it's like, it just feels like, you know, all they wanted to do with this 2v8 is just add these 2 new killers, and, you know, they didn't really change much about the game, and just called it a day. But I'm like, dude, the way I see it, I'm like, if they really want to keep people invested in 2v8, they need to start innovating more again. Like, they need to go back to doing what they were doing before. Like, you know, when they changed the way that you cage people from kicking them into the ground to actually picking them up. Or, you know, adding new mechanics like the sprays and the herbs and stuff from the Resident Evil thing. Like, I just feel like they need to start just doing more things to actually, like, you know, let people engage with the killers and stuff more than just doing generators. Because this time around, it's like there's nothing to do. You just play, it feels like you just play regular Dead by Daylight with 8 people. and you know the gens just get done really quickly. So I'm like, they need to start drastically changing things. And I understand that like over time, you know, they're gonna start changing stuff, but the problem is that the last couple 2v8s we had, they didn't do anything. They just added 2 new killers. They didn't, you know, rework how some of the classes work. They didn't rework like, you know, maps or, you know, anything like that, because a lot of the maps have problems of just really insane palette, like really insane palette density. And especially when you have like, and you know, I feel like that they need to reduce that, especially if they want people to use you know, the other classes, like, you know, the class that rebuilds palettes. Like, if you want people to use that class more, you need to start removing some palettes, so that way people actually have a reason to use it. And yeah, it feels like that the balancing right now is just all over the place, but not in like the fun, like quirky, like haha, the game's unbalanced and it's fun kind of way. It just feels like it's unbalanced, and the devs just aren't doing anything about it. They're just saying, yeah, here's 2 new killers and nothing new. And there wasn't even any new maps. Like, they could have at least tried to add some new maps this time around, but they didn't even add anything. So it's like, it literally is just a matter of the only thing they're doing with 2v8 right now is just adding 2 new killers. They're not changing anything about the mode. They're not like buffing or nerfing things. They're not reworking things. And gens are easily the biggest problem that I think 2v8 is having right now. Is like the gen speeds are insane, and the amount of, you know, the amount of people that could just like, you know, have like quadruple people on one generator getting it done within the first like minute of the game. It really just feels like behavior needs to just start spending more time on actually like innovating with new content, rather than just simply throwing new killers in and calling it a day. Like, I just want them to go back to like actually changing how the game mode functions, because that's what I liked about it, was that like I could load up, you know, the original 2v8 and then go to the newest 2v8 and be like, holy shit, there's something new about this. This does not feel like the same 2v8, and that's what I liked about it. But it just feels like now it's like they have it down to a formula of like, okay, this is what people are expecting when they play 2v8, so we're just not gonna change it. But I'm like, that's what made it fun to me. That's what made it fun to me, is that it was different every time. So I didn't expect the same thing every time. But yeah, I mean, I still think 2v8's a fun mode, and I still think people that haven't played it yet should play it. It's still going on for like another week. And it's probably going to be extended, since that's usually what they do. Like, every time there's a new 2v8, you know, they have it set to end on a certain day, but then they're like, oh, we're going to extend it by like another like week or like another half week or something. But yeah, so I just want to give my opinion about that, because 2v8 has been kind of frustrating to play as killer, because it's really hard to get more than like 2 or 3 kills at a time when all the gens get done before we can even start killing people. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. So yeah, you guys can check out my other videos and stuff, and yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one.